You get home. Keys down, one shoe off, and you're standing in front of the open fridge. You look at the same shelves you looked at this morning. Nothing has changed. You close it and walk away. You weren't hungry. You didn't want anything. You never decided to do that. And here's the part that matters. You won't remember doing it. Ask yourself tomorrow whether you open the fridge tonight and you'll have nothing. You've done it most days for years. You have never once watched yourself do it. So start with the strange part. This isn't a thing you forgot. It's a thing you were never there for. Something ran your body across a room, opened a heavy door, held it, closed it, and put you back. And nobody was home. And that's not a one-off. That's a category. There's a whole set of things you do every day that you have never watched yourself do. So the question isn't what your bad habits are. You can list those. The question is what's living in the part of the day you can't see. That's what this video answers. One mechanism, followed all the way down. Why the habits that run your day are exactly the ones you can't notice. Start with what happens to a habit as it gets good. Take anything you've ever learned to do. The first time you drove a car, you could feel every single thing. Mirror. Clutch. The weight of the wheel. Your whole brain was in the room. Now you arrive at work and you cannot tell me about the last 3 miles. Not one detail. You drove them. You made 100 decisions. There's just no recording. That gap isn't damage. That gap is what success looks like. And Graybeel's lab at MIT watched this happen inside a brain. They ran rats through a simple T-maze and recorded them while they learned it. Early on, the brain fires the whole way through. Every turn, every step, lit up end to end. Once the animal has it down, something very specific happens. The activity collapses to the start and the end. The middle goes quiet. The maze stops being a sequence and becomes one chunk with a trigger on the front and a finish on the back. That's called chunking, and you are full of them. The habit stops being steps and becomes one press of a button. Which is a good thing, honestly. It's the only reason you can hold a conversation while making tea. But look at what it costs. The steps are gone from your view. You get the trigger, and then you get the receipt. The middle, the part where the thing actually happens, never reaches you at all. Now turn that around, because this is where it gets uncomfortable. If a habit disappears from view as it gets strong, then every habit you can see is one that hasn't finished forming. The habit you're fighting is a habit you can still find. Your attention can still get a hand on it. That's why it feels like a fight. The finished ones give you nothing to push against. There's no handle. You never arrive in time to hold one. So here's the rule, and it runs backwards from everything you've been told. Noticing a habit is evidence it isn't running you yet. And the ones you'd swear you don't have are the ones holding the wheel. Which is why habit lists never work. You sit down to write out what you do, and you write down the things you can see. Cigarettes. The evening drink. The scroll. You can name them because they're loud, and they're loud because they still cost you something. Meanwhile, the fridge doesn't make the list. Neither does the route you take, the tab you open first, the person you check on, the chair you always take. None of those are loud. None of them cost you anything. And they've been running for years. Your habits aren't hiding from you. They're just done. Finished things don't announce themselves. So how much of your day is in there? In the dark part? Wood, Quinn and Kashi, 2002, ran a diary study. They had people record what they were doing hour by hour, and whether their mind was on it. About 43% of what people did was habitual. Same behavior, same place, near daily, and carried out while they were thinking about something else. So nearly half your day is already running. Not badly. Just without you. And that isn't an accusation. That's the design. You couldn't function if you had to be present for all of it. But it changes the question. It's not what did you do today. It's what got done while you were away. And here's what makes the dark part so strong. It doesn't need you to want anything. Neil, Wood, and their colleagues, 2011, tested that with popcorn. They handed it out at a cinema, some of it fresh, some of it a week stale. People with a strong cinema popcorn habit ate the stale popcorn at the same rate as the fresh. They rated it as bad. They kept eating it. Then they gave the same people the same stale popcorn in a meeting room. They stopped almost immediately. The popcorn didn't change. The person didn't change. The room said go, the hand went, and the taste never got a vote. That's the whole thing in one study. The habit doesn't check whether you like it. It isn't listening. It's already moving. And you can't catch it in the act, because you aren't in the room when it acts. You show up for the receipt. Now here's the move your mind makes next, and it's the reason none of this ever surfaces. When you look back at the fridge, you don't come back empty. You come back with a reason. You were checking whether you needed to shop. You were seeing if there was milk. It sounds completely reasonable. But the reason arrived after the door was already shut. You wrote it on the walk back to the couch. That's what keeps this invisible for decades. The gap gets filled instantly, and it gets filled with you. So you never once experience an unexplained action. Every single thing you do arrives already explained. Which means your sense of running your own day is real. It's just built afterward, out of leftovers. You're not the driver. You're the one writing the trip report from the passenger seat, and you do an excellent job. And it means one hard thing. You cannot find these by thinking about them. The thinking is the part that covers them up. Here's the turn. You've been auditing the wrong list your entire life. Every habit you've ever tried to fix, you found by noticing it. Which means every habit you've ever tried to fix was one of the weak ones. You've been out there wrestling saplings while the tree holds the whole hillside. And you can't fix that by looking harder. Looking is the one thing these are immune to. They were built by vanishing from it. So stop looking. There's a different signal, and it's already going off in your day, several times, every single day. You just call it something else. You call it being annoyed. So here's the one lever, and you can run it tomorrow. Follow the irritation. The mug you always use is in the dishwasher, and something flares. It's a mug. There are 5 others. And there's a flash of real irritation. That flare isn't about the mug. That flare is a habit hitting a wall and making a noise for the first time in years. It's the only moment these things are audible. Block one and it shouts. Leave it alone and you'd never have known it was there. So for one day, keep a note. Every time something small annoys you more than it should, write down what you were about to do. The chair was taken. The route was closed. The tab wasn't where it lives. Someone moved the bin. Every one of those is a habit standing up and identifying itself. By evening you'll have a list you couldn't have written that morning. And it won't look anything like the list you've been working from. You don't have to change any of them. That isn't the job today. Today you just find out who's been driving. Now go back to the kitchen. Keys down, one shoe off, the fridge door swinging open. That's 4 seconds of your life. You spent maybe 4,000 of them right there. You have never attended a single one. It was never about the fridge. It's that the door closing behind you starts something, and the something doesn't need you, and it's been running since long before you thought about deciding anything. You're not a person who can't stick to habits. You're a person made almost entirely of them, standing in the small part of the day you can actually see, wondering why the rest of it won't listen.